friends, it's Peggy Noe from PrettyPaperCards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you a pretty card from the Love of Leaves stamp set. And I want to show that stamp set to you. It's in the Stampin' Up! August to December 2020 mini catalog. And it is such a fun stamp set. It has wonderful sentiments and leaves. They're kind of watercolor look leaves. And it comes with a fabulous set of dies called the Stitch Leaves dies. And we're gonna work with those today. It comes as a bundle, and you know if you get a bundle, it's 10% off. I'm gonna show you in the catalog, in our current catalog, the August to December mini. It's on page 49, and it shows a few samples that you can do. And if you don't have this catalog, email me at peggy@prettypapercards.com and I'll make sure to get it to you. Okay, let's get started on creating our card. We're going to start with our card base of Petal Pink cardstock. It's 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored at 4 1/4. And I'm going to just use my bone folder here to press down, burnish that score line. Now our first layer is going to be a piece of Calypso Coral cardstock, and the measurements on this are 3 3/4 inch by 5. And what we're going to do for this particular card is we're going to do some distressing. We're going to distress the ends, and to do that, there are some tools that you can purchase, but there's no reason to do that when you can do it easily with your scissors. We call these, Stampin' Up! Calls them paper snips, but it's just, they're very sharp little snips, little paper snips. And so I'm just rubbing along, pressing with a little firmness. Now if I would press at a different angle, I might cut in a little bit, and that happens sometimes, and it's really okay. It's kind of almost desired if you're distressing. So we're going to distress all the edges of this. There it goes. There, I cut in just a little bit. Can you see that? Okay, let's get this corner a little better here. Okay, it does create some distressing dust. Now we're going to do something in the top right-hand corner. We're going to separate the paper in two and curl the paper over. And I'll show you, I don't know if there's an official name for that, but when you do this with your bone folder and press your thumb, not too hard, against it, what you begin to do is separate the fibers. And I don't know if you can see right there, but that paper is now separated just a little bit, and we're going to pull the corner apart. And this is something special with Stampin' Up! Is that our paper is completely solid in color all the way through. A lot of other companies, you will find their cardstock is white in the center, but ours is colored all the way through. That's one of the great things. Now, before I glue that to the card base, I'm going to go ahead and we'll prepare the next layer, which is a Whisper White cardstock layer. And this is 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches. And we're going to stamp this with some Granny Apple Green ink, and with 4 of the different leaf stamps from the set. Now, this is a photopolymer stamp set, which means you need a little extra padding. When you stamp, you can use a magazine, but I use this Stampin' Pierce mat that I have covered with some grid paper. And we're going to do a little stamping off. So I've been doing some stamping off, and that's why it's kind of messy. So here's the biggest leaf stamp. Isn't that pretty? I'm going to stamp off once. That just gets a little color off. And then I'm going to stamp it in the corner. And it just gives a very faint, a pretty faint look, faint watercoloring. And I'm going to do it one more time in the other corner. And then I'm just going to arbitrarily use some other ones of the leaf stamps. Here's one, kind of a longish one. Ink, stamp off. Let's put that right there. and do it a second time. Ink, stamp off right there. Okay, and I've got two more. I've got this one, which is more of a traditional looking leaf. And we'll put that in there. Okay, and we'll do this again down here. And then my favorite of the leaf stamps is this little heart. I don't know what kind of a tree it comes from, but it's a little heart-shaped leaf. I just think it's so cute. And so we're going to just put this in here. Just get that in there a little bit. Fill in a few corners if we need to. Okay, isn't that a nice background? It's just creating a really nice background for us. And now we're going to do the same thing we did with the Calypso coral piece. We're going to distress our edges, our sides and edges, and then we'll curl up a corner on that also. Whoops, now there I did cut it, but it's okay. It just looks more distressed. If you're a real neat person, you might not like this technique. I feel like I am neat, but I do like distressing. It's kind of old-fashioned in a way. I guess shabby chic. I've always been kind of a shabby chic girl. I don't know if they still say that, but I kind of like being shabby chic, and this just goes right along with that for me. Okay, now we've got our edges distressed. Move off all the little crumbs, and now we're going to do the same thing to another corner, and I think maybe I'll do this corner over here. So let's get our bone folder back out and start curling that corner under, and then go back. You can feel those papers, the fibers inside, kind of softening. Let me get my glasses on here so I can see. I want it to face forward, and now let's see if we can see the separation. Yep, there it is. So you just pull it apart, and it's kind of fuzzy on the inside, like that. Okay. So now we have our layers that we're going to put down. The first one I'm going to angle like this, and the second one I'm going to do it a little more straight from the bottom. So I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue, and we don't need to come close to the edges here because our edges are kind of lifting a little, right? So I'm looking to get this on the two corners, well, but not going over, kind of a Price is Right thing. And then for this one again, for this stamped one, rather than go at a real angle, if you kind of go just a little straight, because the other one is already angled, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't make you too dizzy. I think it has a nice look. Okay, that's the beginning of our card. That's the base. Now we're going to make the pretty leaves. And I'm going to get out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm using the magnetic plate today. And we're going to cut pieces of both Calypso Coral and Petal Pink. So this is what I wanted to really show you, is how these dies work. This is the outline of the die, and it's stitched. And then on the inside, this is the inside. And the neat thing about this is, do you see all that stitching in there? It's like the veining of the leaves is stitching. So cute. And so we just set that in there. And then the other one we're going to use for Calypso Coral is this one. And we'll get its little inside here. Okay. And now I'm going to bring back the Petal Pink piece, because we're going to use the medium, kind of the medium leaf with that one. They tend to stick on this magnetic plate, but that's a good thing. All right, now we can put our clear plate on and go ahead and run that through our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and we'll have our beautiful leaves. So let's see here. There they are. And let's see how they turned out. Sometimes if they stick, I just put some other paper underneath to get them to release. Okay, let's see. Isn't that just darling? I really like this. Okay, I just got these today, so that's why I'm especially excited about them. Here's our small leaf, and then let's see how the large one turned out. Oh boy, isn't that cute? Oh, cute, cute, cute. Okay, so now we're ready to adhere those onto the front of our card. And I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to raise them up. I'm going to put this one almost off the edge, so it's actually off of the edges of the two upper papers, but not off the edge of the card itself. And let's get out my Stampin' Dimensionals here. Just put a couple on there to make sure it holds. And these colors, I think, look nice and soft together. A lot of times, and I like bright colors for fall, you know, purples and deep oranges, but this time I wanted to do a soft card. Now this leaf has a longer stem than the others, so I'm going to just trim off that little stem and put it, I think, kind of right there. Let me get some more Stampin' Dimensionals. And the one goal here is make sure the Stampin' Dimensionals adhere to the Whisper white paper there. You don't want to adhere them to this piece or it would raise up too high. So I think over here would be good. Okay, there we go. And then we have this cute little guy, and we're going to try to slide him in kind of just like that. So I think just one dimensional should work for that one. Whoops. There we go. So it kind of covers the whole paper. Now we're ready for our sentiment. And this sentiment is quite thin. It's Hope Changes Everything. And again, I'm going to, because I'm using a photopolymer stamp, I'm going to use my mat underneath. And the ink I'm going to use is the Memento Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Now, because this sentiment is so thin, it works great on a 1/4 inch by 4 inch piece of cardstock. And again, this is the Petal Pink. But it's not a trick, but you just have to pay attention to get it right in the middle there. So I've got my glasses on. Let's see what we think. That turned out pretty good. It's pretty easy to do. You could actually cut a larger piece, stamp, and then trim with your trimmer, with your paper trimmer. So now we're going to place our sentiment right over that area, and we're going to put a little mini Stampin' Dimensional on each end because it's too, the regular dimensionals are too big, so we need these little tiny ones. Or you could put a strip, there are some strips of foam adhesive that you could use. But the one thing about using this particular method is then you would have the foam all the way across there, where really you only want the foam on the ends because you've got your height right here. So let's see how this is going to turn out. So we just take those little papers off. What do you think about this color combination? I'd love to hear what you think for fall. And then we're just going to center it on the page, and it should come pretty close to from one edge to the other. Isn't that cute? Now we can't forget that we have to do something for the inside, and I'm going to use one of the big leaves again for the inside, the big leaf stamp and the Granny Apple Green ink. So we'll do that stamping off thing again. Technique. It's not a thing, it's a technique. Stamp off and then just put this right in the corner there. And now we can adhere this with some glue right into the center. This piece is 3 3/4 by 5. And I always think it's nice to put something on the inside. I think I say that every time I do a video, that it's nice to put a little extra piece of Whisper White on the inside so you can write whatever you want to write, and yet it carries on the theme of the card. And now we have an envelope that we need to stamp. So let's do the same thing again with our envelope. Let's make sure we're right side up. We are. And here's our stamp. We're going to stamp off. I think I'll put it in this corner here. And there we go. And our card is finished. Let me close up my ink pad. Here we go. Isn't that a pretty fall card? And you've got this edge turning down and this edge turning down, and you've got your distressed edges. And hope changes everything. I think it's a wonderful sentiment. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. And if you, I have a links below in YouTube so that you can click on any of the links to go straight to these different products if you want to order them. And I just appreciate you watching my tutorial. And if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it. It's Pretty Paper Cards. So until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.